It all leads to this. Make or break.
Vitality will take them!
A new era is waiting. Make it yours.
Acho que o jogo de hoje ele foi meio apático por nossa parte e a gente foi muito indisciplinado. A gente consegue fazer muito mais do que a gente fez hoje. Mas daqui pra frente a gente tem uma melhor de 5, a gente sabe o quanto a gente é versátil nas melhores de 5. Então eu espero que vocês confiem na gente, porque ainda não acabou. E hoje só foi um teste pra ver o que eles queriam fazer e a gente tirou muita informação. Então é isso, rapaziada, tamo junto.
Well, that was good to see from Teton. They're going to need him to step up in a big way if they want to have some hope of bringing this one back. It's still me, Valdez, with Wolf, bringing you Peace versus Red Canids. Peace destroyed them in the draft and then really brought it to them in the game as well. This is going to be a hard ask, but it's definitely not impossible.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to work on the drafting. I mean, the desk broke it down pretty hard, and I think we did too when we were talking about that game going into it, but they didn't expect the Poppy pick. The draft was very heavy on 80 damage. The Silas follow-up pick felt desperate. You had to deal with the flex of the Aatrox mid. I think we need to go back to more standard drafting. You pick blue side, you prioritize Elise in, and that didn't get any value whatsoever in that game. So I think it's time to go back to the drawing board a little bit. I hope Avenger can end up doing something great for them. Personally thought Grevthar was the very much the stronger player going into playoffs. It's why he was starting all the way up until what could be their last moments.
Yeah, that was definitely a very strange moment for us, but, you know, it's all of us looking from the outside in, right? It's those guys on the side of Red Canids, the coaches and the players. They know better than us, at least. Maybe Grevthar's just not feeling it. Maybe they want to give Avenger at least a chance to show what he can bring to us. We all kind of agree that the draft was the biggest problem from that game number 3, but who knows? Maybe he'll also bring in, like, some kind of weird pocket pick. You know, there's a very strange meta going on right now. There's a lot of things being tested, and who knows? Maybe he's going to be the one to bring in the Vi mid or something like that. So, you know, it's on paper when we're looking at it from the outside in, it definitely feels a little bit strange, but I'm willing to give it a go at least and see what we can see here as the draft has started up for game number 4.
We will see how it all shakes down, because in terms of controlling the early game, they did a great job of dealing with the aggression in game 1, but that feels so far away now. It feels so long ago. As on red side here, this time we'll see what ends up getting prioritized. The Misfortune was banned by Red Canids, so once again we're going to see the Lucian pick here. They've also left up Babip's Diddly and the Lillia we've talked about so much. Both have come into great fruition here for him this game around. Won't be able to play the Aurelia, Tally won't. But this feels very familiar. Will we see the Ezreal coming through? Will we see the Lucian and the Leona coming through for Red Canids? I want to see a big change here. I want to see a move away from that, but looks like it might just be more of the same here, Valdez.
We're going to see Lucian again. That thing hasn't changed, and neither has the Leona.
Oh,
so
no,
you
it's
called
all
it
the same.
perfectly. We both kind of on the same page with that one. And, you know, maybe they're just trying to keep something hidden. You know, I'm trying to be positive here, but to be honest, I mean, I like the Leona. The Lee Sin against the Poppy especially was a little bit, it looked very powerless. So let's see how they mix it up here, as this time it's going to be Lucian Braum. So we've seen Lucian Nami, Lucian Leona, and they're going to give it a try with the Braum, as the Leona, of course, was picked away.
The Braum pretty good into potentially that Ezreal pick to come through. It can block a lot of that damage. Obviously, you know, in the laning phase against the Leona, you're going to have a lot better time than you are as a Rakan. So we'll see if that ends up being the pick, the Ezreal there. The Jayce going to come through blind this time. The Kenin's already removed. You've got the Aurelia taken out. Not a lot of great counter picks for the Jayce, the most common being the Wukong. And we'll see if Guigo is willing to pick that one up. He hasn't played it yet this tournament. So again, one of those perhaps unfamiliar matchups that could end up putting Red Canids behind. As this time the Zoe will come through for Avenger. So that might be the pick they were looking for here.
Very interesting one. I feel like if I'm looking at the side of Peace, I wouldn't mind the Zoe on their side. You know, you have Culling, you have Shock Blast, and you have Zoe over the top. It's AP damage, mixes very well. But to see the Zoe picked up this early on is pretty interesting. Curious, maybe this is what Avenger has prepared. And because you do go for this, you lose a couple of 80 carry picks. I know during the break, Wolf, you were talking about wanting to see the Draven or something like that, you know, really try to mix it up. Maybe this is Teton's moment to do that.
Yeah, I would love to see that. The Ezreal is taken away already, as you mentioned. You see the Trendemir ban here. Not a huge fan of this Jarvan ban because the Jayce is very likely going to be going to the top side of the map. Obviously, could be flexed mid, but banning something like the Lillia away, I think, is a way more powerful option considering how this is being played so far. Or even the Nidalee, because we have so much spoken. They're thinking the same thing as me, man. They want that Draven gone. It's gone. It's off the board here. And that means the Aphelios is going to be the best meta late game scaling option that's available, and they'll pick it up here.
Yeah, and in terms of the lane, I think the Aphelios will be doing just fine. When you are looking at a decent amount of poke with the Jayce and the Culling, it can be a bit hard, and they're actually going to go ahead and pick up the Yone as well. So, again, another kind of hard engaged champion straight into this Aphelios, which is always a little bit interesting. And the Lillia gets picked up once again, so there's your AP damage on the side of Peace.
Yeah, I mean, you could have gone with either. You go a little bit more all in on the poke with the Nidalee, but you're dealing with Zoe poke on the other side. There's a lot of fragility that comes with this Lillia pick instead, especially when Zoe poke can hit you, and then you're going to have a big problem. If you end up getting hit by that, your engage option is null. You also don't have a very strong front line with the composition of Peace here. You have the Braum on the front line, but this is really, I think, a game that's going to be decided by Avenger's ability to hit those paddle stars, because if you can hit those priority targets and keep Babip out of the fight, end up out-poking Jayce in some of these scenarios where you're fighting over vision, then maybe they've got a good chance to bring this to a fifth and final game. The Wukong pick here gives them a lot of extra engage. They already have the Lee Sin, they have the Leona. Great matchup into, at least once you get to the middle parts of it, into that Jayce there. So they have a counter pick for Guigo against Vizicsacsi here. There's hope if you're a Red Canids fan here, because this is not the same level of draft diff for Peace that we saw in the last game. I think there's definitely two sides to this, and it's really going to be about Avenger. I mean, all eyes on this player. It was about the rookie, it was about Grevthar, his appearance here and plans, but now they're really shifting over to a completely different play style.
Yeah, it will be fun to watch. I do feel like they have some lanes that they can get ahead in as well. It will take a little bit of time, right? It's not going to happen right at the beginning, as you did mention. The Zoe in the early levels can get a decent amount of poke in, but once we hit like level 6, there's definitely some funky things that the Yone can do to that Zoe. And that's, part of the reason why we used to see like the Orianna and stuff into the Zoe, because it's like, exactly where she's going back on the portal jump. So in the same vein of thinking, the Yone is like, well, I know exactly where you're going, the easiest ult lineup in the world. I can engage immediately onto you and just try to get right in your face and burst down the Zoe before she pulls off any more of her tricks. So I feel still pretty good for the side of Peace, but this definitely looks better for game number, compared to game number 3 for the Red Canids.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction, and it's all going to be about execution here.
30 seconds until
I pause my thoughts as top laners stare each other down, but it's not the only one here.
How many? Oh, okay. Well, that's going to be unfortunate for Aladoric. Misses that one, gives himself the thumbs down. As, yeah, just going to throw out some, I believe that was Legacy 2020 there on the side. I didn't see who was actually flashing that. But of course, Peace representing the LCO, OCE, trying to bring in a best-of-5 once again for their region. We'll see if they can do it and go up against C9 tomorrow. Definitely will be a super hype matchup if they could get there and potentially knock them down.
It would be a very dominant win for Peace here. Most dominant for their region in a best-of-5. We're not there yet. As the real question becomes, Zoe is such a hit-or-miss champion, no pun intended, because if you can actually hit those skill shots consistently set up for sleeps, this composition is insanely strong as Red Canids. I mean, there's so much potential for follow-up. You end up hitting a sleep with that Trouble Bubble, then there's a Zenith Blade follow-up, then or you could Solar Flare into it, then follow up with sleep. There's so many ways you can use this composition, but it's all about the accuracy. So we're going to see early trading here for the Wukong, Frogside Conqueror.
Yeah. proccing the Conqueror and has the extra armor getting right on top of Vizicsacsi, making life hard for the Jayce. It's one thing you can do at level 1 is get really annoying here and just charge on in over and over. Once the Jayce gets a couple of levels, I feel like it goes back into his favor for a little bit. But then, as you were talking about, Wolf, once you hit like level 8, 9, Wukong gets his ultimate, there's a lot of kill pressure that does come in from the Wukong, which is not very common in lanes that go up against Jayce.
Yeah, Jayce is usually the bully from start to mid, and with the Wukong, you have a lot of power in early to mid, and then even later on, obviously, if you get ahead. What's really interesting about this mid matchup, like you mentioned, is the kind of volatility of it between the Yone and the Zoe, because both of these champions go forward and come back with their abilities. The Soul Rip there, and of course, the ultimate from Zoe is Babip going to go for a very early gank, punishing this aggressive play from Guigo.
This is perfectly timed. He's already burning down. The Lee Sin is charging up, trying to buy some time. Miss on the Q of the Lillia, but as we have it, Avenger comes in and gets the Ignite down that was stolen, and now Babip is under this turret. Aegis in a rough spot, but he will survive, and Red Canids get a couple. We have TP coming in. Doesn't look like there will be an escape here for this Lee Sin, as he will at least deny it from the Jayce, I suppose. But that's first blood and a couple here of the Red Canids.
Yeah, it takes 13 seconds for that to execute the proc, and I think it was a few shy of that when he does come in there with the teleport to finish him off. So 2 for 1 here for Red Canids, but could have been a little bit cleaner there for Peace if that Q lands from Babip. It's a completely different story, but the fact that it misses by so much critical time. Teleport not used for Tally either in this exchange, so he's going to be able to keep that. That's one really nice advantage that they are going to have. Of course, Guigo on the other side will keep his. But this Wukong aggression is working out very well in what is somewhat of a counter pick here against the Jayce. Losing a lot of farm, or was potentially going to lose a lot of farm here. We'll actually clean this up. Picks up 2 assists for himself, and things can definitely start to snowball, like we mentioned, out of control on the top side if Red Canids continue to cap this.
It was pretty cool to see how fast the Zoe could collapse as well with the teleport. Looks like she picked up Ignite with her W as well, which is pretty lucky for this moment.
Yeah, notice the Q missing, as you mentioned. That would have been a dead Wukong there. And unfortunately, he survives a little bit longer. This is just so unfortunate. It allows you just to come in here and grab that kill between 2 enemy turrets. Does eventually, of course, fall there. But things could have definitely gone a little bit better there for Peace, just threading the needle there. You could see the excitement, obviously, in the coaching booth, because this is do or die for Red Canids. One more loss, and you're out of the tournament. Your world's ends here.
Yep, and that's never a comfortable feeling. Wukong up a level, but this time knocked into the Lillia, and no flash now for the Wukong as he's trying to get away. They don't exactly know where he is, but they will find him very quickly. They hand over the kill to Vizicsacsi, and Babip doing a little bit of babysitting, and it will actually benefit them pretty nicely.
There's nothing that Aegis can do on the other side of the map. Not going to be able to find any sort of counter picks or anything like that. So twice now, Peace have been able to punish this Wukong trying to put the pressure on. It's really well-timed shock blast there from Vizicsacsi. But, you know, this is going to start to take its toll here against the Wukong eventually if this continues. Vizicsacsi is going to have to sit under turret here very safely. You can see, even after the death, he's going to push the issue.
Okay, trying to force the sleep as he does get underneath the turret, but is the burst damage enough? Yes, it will force the flash as Tally has to go back here, but good to get the flash out there pretty much for free. It's now Babip from downtown rolling the bowling balls, looking for a kill in the bottom lane. Babip is everywhere, and he picks up another kill in the bottom lane.
He's the strong side police in this game because both lanes where you see the heavy pushing coming through, he's just sweeping in for the easy ganks when the overextension comes through. And Bob is just so well versed on this Lillia pick. He's really the only player in this whole tournament who's consistently playing it. It's fallen out of the meta in most regions, but he's finding kills with it. He's finding tempo advantages. And if this continues, this Lillia is going to get out of control. Already got his Predator boots online.
Yeah, it's pretty rough playing against Babip. I mean, it was looking so good for Red Canids in their turnaround in the top lane, but Babip just never seems to stop. It's been nice to see that piece. You know, they're finding some carry plays from multiple members in their lineup. You know, Tally's done it in the group stage part of this play-ins group, as I'm going to have to hold that thought as we're getting in there. The kick is ready, and Vizicsacsi's level 5 right now. He does not quite have the health or damage to do much here. Babip, though, is incredibly strong. And with Tally coming over, they will back away. But still, Red Canids able to pick up another kill here onto Vizicsacsi up in the top side.
Yeah, so the aggression is just all about the top side of the map right now. Both players trying to vie for control there. Unfortunately, with just a slower rotation, they don't get the pick back, but Tally is not done.
Okay, he's going to try to ult in. There's a lot of damage going on to an Avenger, but Jojo's right there. It's flashing in for the kill as Aladoric. He will not be able to pick it up, and now Titan picks up one for himself. The bowling ball comes through, and that will deter them from more, but this is, you know, slowly but surely going into the hands of Red Canids. Multiple kills now.
I mean, they are at 1,000 gold to lead, and yes, you've got a nice lead, and yes, you can skirmish well with this composition. You've got a pretty accelerated Lillia here, but she's only got, you know, her Sork shoes and now an Amp Tome. She's not that far ahead. You don't want to really be trying to force these skirmishes. It's a composition that is very tempo-based in a lot of ways. You don't want to be going into the late game with a Lucian, right, and a Yone who haven't done anything throughout the early game, but we're not really at the point yet where they have those first few items online where they can really look to try to force these fights. You have to respect the power of Red Canids' composition, especially defensively in some of these fights.
All right, well, Peace reading the back here on the Red Canids, saying, okay, even though they have the Scuttle Crab and we're on vision, we can still go for this. And with Teton down on the bottom side and showing, they don't know 100% Red Canids where the Lucian is. So they say, okay, we'll just let them have that one. It's going to be a nice pickup here for the side of Peace trying to come back in this game. Babip going to pick that one up as the Crescendum is getting to work in the bottom side. Teton, she's full mana, full health. He's just getting to work and picking up multiple plates.
It's a really nice macro play from Red Canids to actually rotate down there because you can protect the Crescendo push there on the turret with that group up. It's going to be a trade, but guess what? The Aphelios wins this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's 3 plates.
Yeah.
And he's not done.
And, like, they don't
Nobody's
get any.
there.
3 on the top side means this is just a bad macro call here from Peace. But the thing is, there's not really much they could have done with the rotation that we saw over from Jojo and Aegis towards the bottom side of the map. If Violet stays, he dies, and they get the plate, so he has to leave. And so you end up losing out on the Rift Herald, but what you gain is the same value Rift Herald would have granted you, plus 3 members of the side of Peace missing, getting nothing. You're going to be able to drop that Rift Herald down and gain a little bit of that gold disadvantage back. But this is still 10 CS the advantage as well gained here for Titan.
He's so far ahead now. He even picked up a call in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, he is just massive. If we look at his gold, it's just going to be insane numbers right now for him. And they didn't even drop the Rift Herald on the side of Peace just yet. As the Gravitum is coming through, they're going to get the lockdown here onto the Braum. As in comes level 7 Aegis, looking for at least a kill. He uses his flash to make sure they can take down the Braum. A little bit of a rotation is coming in. The bowling ball is going to miss. As the root comes in and Babip's just running straight into them. He is not very tanky right now, and Peace are having some issues with, you know, how far they should go on this one. Tally in a bit of issue now as well. He has to come back. He's going to go down. Violet's all alone. And Red Canids, they find the opportunities, and they are just crushing them.
I mean, this is the kind of territory, but we've been talking about all series long about where Red Canids are at their strongest. And, you know, it starts to feel like, well, do I even believe these casts anymore? Because they've never been able to have this level of control in this best of 5. If you hadn't watched the rest of the group stage, if you haven't watched their region, you might not feel like this team ever has control of the early game. In Game 1, the only game of the series they've taken so far, Titan game became out of control in the Israel after some small picks happened when Peace overextended. Once again, with some overextensions here from Peace, they're given gold all around the map. I mean, 4 kills for Aegis so far this game. And he's going to be involved in the fight here as the Rift Herald is dropped, but there's so many resources given. And look at the rotation up from Avenger. This is not the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, they knew exactly who it was.
Nothing.
Or where it was going to go, right? And this gets nothing. So that Rift Herald that you get the gold from killing it. That's what you got. And I suppose you got some map control by forcing them to go top. That's fine. Red Canids are just laughing at that one. Nice little trade here by Tally, but they got to do a lot more to get on the back of this one, as we do have the new Axe Effect replay coming in for this. And it did not look great for Peace. Red Canids crushed him in this one.
Yeah, and Aegis is just able to flash in, set up for the kick there, and they're able to pick off the very rare Braum kill. You know, it's so difficult to kill him. And then for some reason, Babip decides, okay, I can come in here. You're dealing with a Leona here. That's the only one who's low. Tally is so far away, and yes, he has his ultimate. But yeah, I mean, yes, there's also Gravitum, but like, you are really just biting off more than you could chew here. And it almost feels like for the last 5 to 6 minutes of this game, Peace have felt they have a huge advantage that just really isn't there. I mean, you had a nice advantage as this Lillia early on. You did end up getting those early 2 kills, but you're not in a place anymore where you can actually continue to force these fights, especially when you're in these deficits, especially when you've already lost your Braum.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Wolf, if Red Canids lose this game, they're out of Worlds, so this means everything to them right now. They are fighting tooth and nail with their back against the wall, and they're showing up big time. You really got to hand it to them. When the pressure is on, everybody, all 5 players, are performing at a high level right now for the Red Canids. That's going to be the full turret down on the bottom side. Look at the gold difference between the 2 AD carries. 2,000 gold, 12.5 minutes into the game, and now they're going to find Babip and Aladoric sleeping in the river. As that's going to be a nice Yone ultimate. That's a lot of damage coming back here as Tally is just going insane. He's not going to get any kills, but at least he saves the lives of his teammates.
Yeah, it was a really nice double knock up there, but he adds a flash, uses that ultimate here, and they're not able to pick off any kills, as you mentioned. And you can see the power of this composition at this stage. If you get the tempo lead with this Lillia, if you could push the Yone advantage, you have so much power, but it's not working out. Tally.
It's going to be a miss there from Avenger, gets knocked up. He just is here. He's trying to get the knock up underneath, and he just does so much damage. I mean, he just gore drinkered him in the face.
I mean,
he like took that item out and smacked him.
He's level 9. He's got 5 kills. He's even built a little bit of that magic resist already here. The guy is so difficult to kill, and if he gets behind you at this stage of the game, the rest of Red Canids can clean up house. You end up getting a kick, that's all it takes. And with no defensive options there for Tally, can you really blame him? It's more about the proactive play there from Aegis. Vizicsacsi here on the top side of the map might be the next target. He does have Aladoric nearby. But man, the bot turret is demolished. There's such a huge amount of gold. Now that the cull is complete, that's a bunch of extra bonus gold going over to Titan. Finishes his Gale Force here early. Now the Divine Sunderer is up for Guigo. I mean, what more of a lead could you really ask for with this composition that's also, by the way, very strong in the late game? Once the Zoe starts getting those Battle Stars off later on, once you see Aphelios really get to front to back against this team fighting composition of Peace, it gets worse. It doesn't get better from here. 6,800 to 4,500, 13 gold. No, yeah. 2,300 gold, the leader.
Yeah, he's, that's the thing about the
late game. Don't do math on cast.
Yeah, that's generally a good rule. But this time you got there, Wolf, so congratulations. Yeah, Titani, he's also up 2 levels. So he's getting all these extra stats. He has all that extra. And even in terms of late game, it doesn't even really matter what champion that is. Like, he's just going to be so far ahead just based on the way the game is going, but especially because it is Aphelios into some of those champions that like to get into your face. As Red Canids will be picking up the Rift Herald tier. Looks like that top turret is the target here because the other 2 turrets, oh, I guess the mid one is still up. It's getting late over here in Korea. But
certainly late for us, yeah.
They have their options, right? They could go mid or they could go top, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you have so much power here as Red Canids, and unfortunately for Peace, with a composition that's running this Lucian Yone, you kind of just have to sit back and watch the show. At least they got the first Drake in this game, so there's a little bit more of a buffer for them. It's not like they're getting completely choked out of the game, and it's not like towers are falling all around them, but you can't make proactive plays with the composition that so desperately wants to be proactive early, especially with the lead that Babip had early. Some of those proactive plays he made were what's, springboarded Red Canids back into this game and gave them such a huge advantage. I mean, we're now talking 5,000 gold lead nearly. So you're between a rock and a hard place here for Peace, and it's not an unwinnable game by any means, but the challenge is going to be to find those holes, find those gaps in Red's composition. And with the Gale Force already up for Titan, picking him off is just out of the question. You've got a tanky, powerful Aegis here on the Lee Sin who can basically buffer almost anything. We've seen some miracle engages from Babip. I think that's where you're going to have to start.
Well, they're going to get the... Oh, he tried to get the knock-up onto Avenger. Nice try from Aladoric, kind of an awkward angle there. As we do have the Rift Herald still, they're not even going to use it. They can hold on to that and see what's happening now. The Zoe from ahead, even a trouble bubble rather, onto Babip. He is going to take a huge chunk himself. And now what are you going to do? You don't have the range, you don't have the wave clear. You've got a bowling ball, and that's it. This is going to be another turret into the pockets of Red Canids. They are taking over this entire map.
Yeah, I remember last game where I said, well, I don't like to call games over. we're kind of nearing that territory here. It's a very different scenario, and there is some comeback potential with Beast's composition, but I gotta say, Avenger, he's delivering on this Zoe. We've seen some up and downs, talked about it earlier. We did see a very successful Zoe in the first series of the evening. We saw Cody's Zoe, a few days ago, not quite live up to the hype that we were expecting to see him play well on it with, but in this particular game, he's hitting the skill shots when they matter most, and everything is suddenly all coming together here for Red Canids, and that's what you love to see in a best-of-5 like this, where it looked like all hope was lost after you got totally draft gapped in the previous game. They're going to take their first Drake of the game for free while they have control of 3 lanes across the map. I mean, as Peace here, you're kind of hoping for a miracle. You're hoping for an overextension.
Yeah, I mean, I think on their side, it is going to be difficult to lock down some of the squishy backline, namely the Zoe and the Aphelios, but they do have some tools. It's not going to be easy, mind you. I think they need some Shock Blast to start off a fight. Maybe if things kind of are shuffling around an objective and everybody's kind of posturing, maybe Vizicsacsi, who, yes, he did fall behind in the lane, but he's kept up in CS. He still is a Jayce. Maybe he can do some work into that backline. Just looking for, potential here on the side of Peace.
What you can do before an objective fight, and we're so far away from that because that Drake was taken for free, what you can do is even toss in a culling, before the fight. And if you can chip down... Oh, boy. Oh, no, this is not where you want to be.
Yeah, Babip's out here all alone, and he is going to have a Jayce, as even the Solar Flare comes in just for a bit of help. Did not even need that, as that will be another kill onto him.
He's not safe.
Yeah, they just didn't have the vision to go onto that one, and he's even going to flash, and they don't seem to care. The damage comes in, the kick flash, and that will be a free Jayce on top of everything else. Guigo takes a lot of damage, but it won't be enough. They are so far behind our Peace, and Red Canids are just taking everything right now.
Oh, I mean, it's a dead Lillia, it's a dead Jayce, it's going to be a dead turret, and this might, I don't think this is going to be the last charge this Rift Herald gets either, because unfortunately, you've got a pushing mid Zoe on your mid inner turret you've got to deal with. Now your inhibitor turret's under fire. I mean, there is no way out. There's no escape button. There's no escape hatch. You are just getting pushed out of this game. And all 3 lanes, like Tally's got a little bit of pushing going on the bottom side of the map, but the damage is way more significant elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, Tally's just there because if he was in a lane, it's like, what are you going to do? You're Yone. Maybe you can look for some engages, but at this point, I think Peace have kind of given up on that idea as they are so far behind. Much like Game 3 was a huge draft gap that was well executed by Peace, this one just feels like an execution gap in favor of Red Canids. I feel like Babip, he got an early lead, and unfortunately, he's been out of position now multiple times, and Red Canids every single time are there to capitalize.
Yeah, it feels like I think that's now the 3rd or 4th time, unfortunately, this game. He has just been somewhere where you're not allowed to be as a very squishy Lillia. If you're an Olaf in that position, yeah, maybe you can get away with it. If you're a Jarvan in that situation, you can flag drag your way out, but not as the Lillia. I mean, she doesn't have mobility, she doesn't have escapes, and you did it for a scuttle because you want that vision so desperately so you can actually protect a little bit of split pushing on the top side of that because that turret's still up. You want to put Tally in a lane where you get value, got it in the bottom side. Now you want to protect him on the top side there, but the Punisher's real, and it's not just him. It's the whole map you lose with just one overextension like that.
Yeah, and Red Canids, they're in a position where they have total map control. And I suppose, fortunately, that for Peace, there aren't any huge objectives that they can actually take right now, but it's still Red Canids all the way. As they're here in the brush, it looks like they saw them go into this one. The stun will come down, and the 2 of them are just going to be massacred as the Yone Tally tries to get something down, but it will not amount to too much. They kill him in flight. Double kill underneath Teton's belt once again, and now they can go for the Baron easy peasy.
Yeah, 21-minute Baron, but I mean, with the Aphelios this fed, you've got the damage to do it. This is realistic. Even if you haven't killed half the enemy team, more than half the enemy team before this, this is something you can start. You can actually control choke points. The Rift belongs to Red Canids. I mean, it looks very likely, Valdez, that we are going to a 5th and final game in this series. We're going the distance. We're going all 10, baby. And
it was the prophecy.
It was the prophecy.
It was foretold.
We knew it was going to happen. You and I both, right before the day started, we were like, I think it's a 10-game day. And
yep.
I got to say, like, this feels like a draft where Peace trying to make a statement. Like, The Yone is a really strong tempo pick. We've seen it banned a lot in drafts as we watch this fight where, again, it's just a collapse in on a piece that's just trying to wrestle control vision on the Baron that they know is doable for Red Canids. But the draft there, they kind of overextended with this Yone. They overextended with the Lillia. And now the Baron power play is out. I mean, we're already looking at a 10,000 gold lead at 22 minutes.
Yeah. This is the Red Bull Baron power play, and it's going to be one that maybe you haven't seen this level of before, because not only are they super far ahead, but they basically got Jayce and bowling balls and culling for wave clear against Baron minions. We'll see how well that goes for them. I suppose on the side of Red Canids, you basically have the Zoe and the Aphelios for poke and siege, but that's a whole lot, especially when you're this far ahead. So they're just going to look to push 2 lanes. It's still very early on in the game, so they can't just kind of force it down.
You see
they'll be
that
looking for their opportunity.
The Shock Blast connect there. The Empowered Shock Blast does very little damage to the entire roster. Vizicsacsi is behind Titan in terms of levels right now. He's a level behind the Aphelios. Now, who are you really threatening, unfortunately, at this point, with Baron empowered minions pushing down? There's nothing you can do.
Did you see that? That was insane. That's 1 Q from Titan. That's all he needs. And now we've got the Chakrams just flying throughout the air. As, yeah, all this airspace, all this ground space is currently controlled by the Red Canids. Said it before, I mean, we had draft gap in game number 3, but this is just absolutely Peace taking a gigantic beating by the Red Canids, and they are relentless as they are pushing in here with the Baron. We'll see if they stop on 2 inhibitors. I would say probably not.
I think they can definitely put some threat on these Nexus turrets while also pushing the top inhibitor. If they see an engage option, they'll look for it.
You can see they're trying, and the Zoe is you know, he's going to get slept there in the back. Titan is pretty low. Maybe this is the opportunity, but where is the damage from Peace? They're just so far behind. The gigantic bank safe from the side of Red Canids is about to fall on the heads of Peace like a cartoon right now, as all 3 inhibitors are going to go down. And, well, they've only got the Siege minion, but they'll stick around because why not? There's nothing else to do on this map.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Baron-empowered minions for just a few more seconds here. You're going to try to use that siege power. 1 Nexus turret down.
Tally's trying his best, and at least he is buying some time, I suppose. But, okay, we got 5 seconds now on the Red Bull Baron power play. They're going to look to make their most of it as the damage is just chipping away slowly but surely onto these Nexus turrets. The Nexus is wide open. The super minions in all 3 lanes as the flash kick will come in, and there's not even time to react to that one. This one is a done deal, guys. We are going to a game number 5 here in the second best of 5 of the night. We will go the distance. Red Canids by themselves. Another chance to make it to the next round of Worlds.
Oh, look at how excited Titan is. He knows he carried that game. The damage was all his. He got such a nice lead early on. And it feels like the real star for Red Canids is oftentimes overextensions by the enemy team. I mean, unfortunately, Babip put himself in harm's way and was punished 3 times early on. You get that fed early, and it's very difficult to come back with a composition that is so tempo-based, with the Lucian who's behind, cowering under a turret, with this Yone who's unable to find picks, unable to find kills, really just running around the map, escaping picks, trying to survive, trying to farm, trying to find turrets on the edge, on the side lane. And this is much better drafting here in this 4th game. And the Zoe being a bit of an X factor here. We didn't know how Avenger was going to perform on it. Hit the skill shots when they mattered most, was able to set up several sleeps, good paddle star accuracy. And this is anyone's series to take. Cloud9 trying to prep for this game. They don't know what opponent it's going to be until the end of this last game.
Yeah, might be a little bit confusing for them. They're like, I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? Like, is it going to be the drafting or the better play of Red Canids? Who's going to show up? Which Red Canids will it be? Will it be Peace that makes it through? Who knows at this point? I mean, we're going to game 10 out of 10. It has been a wonderful evening so far, and we'll top it off with one last game, guys. We are going to throw it to the State Farm Analyst Desk after this break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with game number 5.
Baby, you look pretty fine. I figured I might come your way and roll up on you with that golden ticket.
irresistible. The new Axe Effect.
What's better than Silver Scrapes? Silver Scrapes times 2, baby. That's right. Welcome back to Worlds 2021, where we are now 2 for 2 in 5-game best of 5s. Let's go. Welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk. Raz.
How are you guys feeling over there?
Well, living the life.
Daisy. Easy as you can be.
So, you know what? I love this.
Let's go.
I love this. I'm so excited about this.
Especially the energy out of Chitan by the end of it. Pointing, literally looking at the other team saying, one more game.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about.
I love it. I love it when the players are feeling the energy. We are. You know the fans at home are as well. I am very sorry for the Australians who are waking 6 a.m. right now. We're like, just please get our team.
I
really
hope
you don't have work. No work, please. Yeah, I know, right? You got to love it. You got to love it. And you know what? Shame on us for not having the faith in Avenger. The swap comes in for Red Canids, and it does work out for them. I do want to talk, though, about what changes, right? Yeah. Exactly. We'll take our lickings. I want to talk about what changed, though, with him coming in. And so let's start with the draft, because we did call it out, you know, maybe a little bit less of a roamer, maybe a little bit more laning focus, and we did get the Zoe pick.
Yeah, and I think that was the big one, right? Because when you look at the draft, you've got 2 solid solo lanes now that you can actually look to play around. You got the Wukong, which is a good counter matchup into the Jayce, and because they took that Yone into the mid lane, now you've got that pushing lane for the Zoe, and we pretty much saw that off the get-go paying dividends, where you get that TP to the top side, and then they're able to get control of the game from there. So I think definitely Avenger making the difference, but I think a draft was playing a large portion in setting him up for success.
100%. I agree on the sentiment of draft being much better. He was really in tune of the plays that were happening here. The TP that happened topside to get himself the kill also happened towards the bottom lane. Well, I'm sure we'll see a replay of that. I think he was just ready to play. I know I was snooping a little bit in his solo queue, and also just his like social media seeing. I mean, he's still streaming, he's still playing consistently. You could see it. There is no rust at all, and you can see it from the team. Their energy is at an all-time high level.
Yeah, it was fabulous to see. Again, you can see the energy of the squad as well, and I think that is so huge. It's so important. We talk about the first series of the day, a reverse sweep. You know, part of that was built on momentum, and so Red Canids right now, the team with maybe the edge in the momentum as we roll through some more of those clips from this one right here. But again, focus on Teton still as the primary carry for the squad.
Yeah, definitely Teton coming in looking phenomenal in this bottom lane, and I love how many of these dual lane kills we're getting in this series. They've been popping off, but a lot of that success as well was because we had Aegis being unlocked because he had those solo lanes that were doing well. Cool, now Lee Sin can play down towards the bottom lane, have support from that mid lane, and set up this Aphelios to carry, because the whole gun game with Lucian is, hey, I want to play forward in the lane, I want to be able to push in onto the tower, but you're not going to be able to do that when you don't have control of the rest of the map.
And I look at this, and I say Aegis and also Jojo took control of this game. That bot lane play that they made, that's discipline that they didn't have in their first few games. That being able to take that one kill, play back, hey, Peace wants to give another kill to us, we'll take it then. But we were willing to just take small incremental advantages. And then, of course, that top lane play that came through, and it's the Leona being taken away for Jojo. And on top of it, it's Aegis with just an exceptional Lee Sin performance. So even though now we get to see Teton unlock, it's because these two players were massive.
Yeah, you said it, Raz, with Aegis, but I think we have to drive the point home, Dagda, because we prefaced this series talking about what a pivotal member of Peace Babip is. And so much of our focus when it came to jungle was on him, and this, I feel like, was the first star game out of Aegis, and is going to start to make us maybe hone in on the jungle matchup as opposed to elsewhere.
And especially the Lee Sin as well, right? Because when we look over at the CB Law, this was a big pick for him. He went 3-0 in the playoff games against Flamengo and never got to touch the Lee Sin again. And then I saw it in the last game, I was like, oh boy, I'm ready. And then you're like, oh, I could have waited a little bit longer, actually. But coming into this game, he looked amazing, really able to get control of the early stages. And as Raz said, playing down towards, well, we got to play top, we get to play into the bottom lane as well. He really did take over this game.
Very few times you get to see real in-game adjustments during a best of 5 where teams are just naturally getting better and making better decisions in the mid-game. And it felt like this is just the case here for Red Canids. And so, yeah, I mean, look, is Lee Sin going to get banned? I think so. I think he's not going to get it again.
Okay.
But I think even if he's on another champion, he's just going to be better because the team is playing better around him. So the draft's getting better. Players are getting a little, on the ball now. It's 6 p.m. around there in Brazil right now, so it's prime time spotlights on them, and I think they're. I'm starting to jump ship. It's starting to happen, guys.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, already tipping your cap to where I was about to go. We find ourselves in the same position we were in earlier today. It is all reduced to a best of 1 between these two teams. It's Peace on one side. It's Red Canids on the other. Final side selection. It goes the way of Peace. They're hopping over to the red side, but Avenger stays in, Dagda. So now that they've had a game to kind of understand and internalize what it is that Red Canids looks like with him in the lineup, as that's the team that we actually all threw our weight behind at the beginning of the day. Yeah. I'm curious what you think is the recipe, the response, how they find success and ultimately pull it through. And then Raz, since you're thinking about flip-flopping, I'm coming to you on the Canids next, so get ready, my friend.
I think the big one for me is kind of looking at how this bot lane again is shaping up, because too many times we've seen Teton set up as the big carry. I think Aphelios being a big proportion of that. If we're going to ban away the Misfortune, set up the Lucian as that bot side map. So I think maybe we could see that become a bit more of a contested pick. And if we get that same solo lane control coming through for Red Canids, I think they can take it, but it's up to Peace to see if they can shut that down in draft.
All right, Raz, if Lee Sin is off the table like you're predicting, where do the Canids go? How do they wrap it up? One more game is all they need to buy themselves another best of 5 here at World's Play-Ins.
I'm honestly not too concerned about the jungle pick there for Aegis. He can go towards a Jarvan or can just play what, you know, the Lillias and all that and have that being taken away. I think the way they're playing around the 2v2 top lane has been working for them. If they take another blind pick Leona, I think it's a big thumbs up for this team. It allows them to make plays bot lane. Titan has been able to play around Jojo very well. And what you saw that last game, Jojo is able to head top lane, cover for Guigo once, I think around 8 minutes in the game. He's just far more active, and I'm liking how Jojo's been progressing this series.
Well, nothing makes me happier than watching both teams walk down the tunnel side by side. All business, all seriousness here. As again, it is one game that separates either of these teams from another best of 5 and a chance to stay alive here at Worlds 2021. Cue it up again, baby. Let me hear those sweet sounds of silver scraping. On the other side of this commercial break, we'll meet you right back here for game number 5.